been saving this for a very special occasion. Big channel milestone, and of course the spectacular 41st anniversary. I think it's time. A record that I think was a gateway drug to so many of us to our favorite band ever. Even among the diehards who may pick another record as their favorite, I think a lot of us would agree this is their most essential. And I know there's a good argument there for 2112 as well. But I think without this album, they're kind of just considered a relic of the 70s. This one really allowed them to transcend multiple decades and multiple generations.
Transcending time.
Oh, yes.
They really broke through to more of the radio waves with this one. Production-wise, sonically, it's one of the best sounding, and even albums that came out after this sound older.
That being said, though, I think I'm going to break a few hearts here, present company included.
I think this one went down a little bit on your top three, but it's still in the top three.
It's not that it went down, it's that there was another album that went up. Without further bovine excrement, I'm Darius King.
Not Metalhead.
This is Tom Sawyer. I'm gonna start off telling you youngsters a little story here. So the first time my father ever heard Rush, he was in grade school. One of his buddies just got the new Sony Walkman. First thing my dad heard on those, Tom Sawyer, of course.
The first song my dad ever heard was Tom Sawyer. Also, a friend of his had it on a tape, put it on, he was like, oh, who's this? So the whole 70s he missed out.
That's exactly what I mean by saying, even though there's a huge case to be made for 2112 keeping them afloat, this was so many of our introduction. A lot of people, they knew them in the 70s, but they weren't fully indoctrinated into this nice little Rush cult that we have going here. The Oberheim Swell is super dated, but is such an epic intro to such an epic album. The true start after the first vocal line is a prime example of Rush's explosive sound. Just three guys sound like a whole wrecking crew. Alex's heavy chorus effect, Geddy's ass-kicking bass tone, and Neil just Neil. Dominate the sound field. We saw all these things on Permanent Waves, but you can hear there's just something totally different about the energy. It's even a totally more aggressive mindset than 2112.
Geddy's tone on this, the drive he has on it. A thing that I like that Alex said in an interview, he likes Tom Sawyer so much because the song just always has a fresh feel. Every time they play it, it just feels new. And it kind of does have that.
Again, the Moog is a little bit dated, but it's one of those riffs that's like such an 80s staple up there with the Jump that just every spaz has to go into the music store and play on the first keyboard that they see. Neil delivers one of his signature performances. It's not a flashy one like La Villa Strangiato or something like that, but it's so incredibly structured. Every beat you could tell was really, really thought out, especially the change-ups he puts in there during the outro. More serious and intense vibe is something Rush did so well, and I wish they did a little bit more too. But yeah, this is probably top 5 Rush. So I definitely slap at the nut button.
It can't be denied as one of their most well-arranged and definitely explosive. I'd have to hit that button as well.
Now I understand this next song has a little bit of a special place in your heart.
It does.
All right, so get the tissue box out.
Oh no. My favorite Rush song of all time. The lyrics are so intricate, and they're written in such an amazing storytelling way of being in this dystopian future, and the way they describe the gravel spitting up, the wind in his hair, and dreaming with his uncle. It has a dreaming relatability. The part of the arrangement that I like the most is when the person getting into the red Barchetta and driving off with the spitting gravel, Alex makes his guitar sound like a car revving up out of the lot. Just everything about this song just feels like they were in a laboratory, carefully placed everything and mixed everything perfectly.
I love the natural harmonics that Alex puts in here, and Alex has always been the king of natural harmonics. One thing I don't really like is the mosquito synth that distracts from the background, especially listening in Amos. It's like, eeeeee. One of his best tones too, perfect amount of chorus, and Neil is probably my favorite part of this whole song. He times his hits so well with the vocals, it almost sounds like, you ever seen those Karen metal videos? But yeah, just speaking to the quality of this album, this is maybe like my 4th or 5th favorite. I actually love the song, and I can totally relate to a lot of the stuff that you were saying. But as far as even, just on this track list, it doesn't rank as high as a song like, Tom Sawyer, Limelight, YYZ, Witch Hunt. So I'd give this probably my most controversial Darius King seal of approval.
Yeah, I kind of dove in deep, so I think I just have to come out and say 10.
Respecting that one.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking saying YYZ. If
You're
Geddy's gonna say red Barchetta instead of red Barchetta, I'm not gonna say YYZ. This is kind of like La Villa Strangiato for cavemen, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. It packs the masterful musicianship and artistry of Rush into a more condensed package and walks an incredible fine line between intense proggery and more commercial-friendly confines of this album.
It's more a little straightforward. It's a little more condensed. It's not as expansive, so more people can relate to it. It's definitely one of the greatest instrumentals ever. Stellar performances from every member, each showcasing their skills in their own ways.
The rapid-fire runs are the ridiculous overdrive tone that he puts on here. Music that is going to get into the upper echelon of my rating scale is stuff that makes me want to sit down and play it myself, and that's Neil's parts, especially during the beginning on here, and I don't even play drums. Alex delivers one of the best solos, I think, on this album, and at times gets even neoclassical, which, you know, I was liking. All this while still paying attention to song structure is evident by that softer, opened up synth part. This still got to be some upper shelf Rush, so that's a hard slap the nut button for me.
This one gets a 10.
I like how you were like kind of underselling it there, and then you just have to deliver the 10.
Gotta keep people guessing.
The drum tone is one of my favorite ever for reasons like the earth-shaking toms that are highlighted so much throughout the song.
And of course, the lyrics are really stellar. And of course, you know, it's like the, you know, boo-hoo, I'm famous, I'm sad, whatever. But it's also more relatable in a way of someone who has a hard time getting notarized.
I think this is almost kind of a response to people questioning Neil's attitude, you know, always wanted to be off in the corners.
And it's definitely not always what it's made out to be, especially when you're an introvert, but like Neil was. And even in the documentaries you watch, Alex and Geddy always try to talk for him and say that he's not trying to be rude. It's just who he is.
Such an unconventional and majestic solo from Alex. It doesn't sound like it's hard, but for some reason, every YouTube cover guy is his favorite thing to botch royally. And I think it's mostly because of the emotion that he injects into it that just can't be replicated.
It's very dreamy. It really matches the lyrics of being kind of melancholy.
This is one that I've heard since I was like, 3 years old. While you kids were listening to Baby Mozart, we had moving pictures on loop. I think that goes for both of us too. And so therefore, it's been a long time resident of the playlist.
Yes. This one has always been on my playlist.
I know this is your favorite from our Guess the Song video. What an incredible intro with Geddy's squishy Oberheim tone and Neil's military snare. Sounds like you're going on a space mission.
It's the last great epic they ever did. Really, like, last hoorah, and solid guitar as always.
Oh yeah, what an explosive tone from Alex, especially paired up with the synthesizers. Not a song I paid much attention to prior to this review, but there's so much detail in here. The layered electric and acoustic section distinguishes itself nicely from the clean section, just like the intro and the main part, but everything fits together like puzzle pieces.
Definitely one of their epics that I don't really find myself going back towards more, but still, for the last one they've ever written and for this album, it has all the pieces that you would want from a Rush epic.
Yeah, it's definitely not one that gets me going to the same degree as some of the earlier ones on this album, but Neil executes the concept of contrasting the two cities so flawlessly. So this one gets the Darius King seal of approval.
This one gets the Metalhead seal of approval.
Underrated.
Oh yeah.
Alex and Neil worked together to create the perfect tense atmosphere for a song that deserves something like that. The isoed guitar with that flange panning is just pure goosebumps.
I love the experimentation they did with this. In the interviews I've seen or articles, they said it was really one of the also last songs that they got kind of creative with in terms of just different noises. And of course, in terms of technicality, it's probably the easiest.
Yeah, on guitar and bass it might be easy, but drums, especially if you don't have a foot pedal. Neil ultimately carries the direction here when he shifts from the cowbell stomps right into those heavy tom fills that send you into another dimension. Best use of vocal effects on this album here too, which open up the big sections. I've always loved the concept of the Fear series, this one being my favorite, and I don't think it's been any more relevant than the last couple of years. And I love the heavier sound that we haven't heard too much from Rush up to this point in their career either. One of my personal favorites, so that's going to be another slap of the nut button.
This song is definitely going on my playlist.
Probably my least favorite on the album. The reggae sound is definitely something Rush did so well, and I wish they did more, especially the way that Alex attacks it with his heavier tone. Also very detail-oriented still, like the huge reverb on the memory chip line.
Yeah, it's definitely my least favorite as well. The reggae funkiness is really well done. I already have 6 tracks ahead of it that I think are miles better. I think Camerai probably would have been a better ending.
The bass is super explosive on this one, but yeah, there aren't a whole lot of parts that just jump out at me like there were in the previous ones, but it's still overall a very well structured song. So this one gets the Darius King seal of approval.
This one gets the Metalhead seal of approval.
Overall, Rush delivers their signature album and one of the most significant of the 80s. All right, let's trigger some people. I like to think of this as Rush's best album for every non-Rush diehard. That's not to say hardcore fans can't have this as their favorite. I know a lot of them that have this as their favorite, but what this album does so well is give you the best samples of excellence that Rush has to offer. Like I said earlier, with YYZ being a condensed version of La Villa Strangiato, introducing you to their 70s prog vibe. Tom Sawyer warming you up to the infamous and highly underrated synth era. Witch Hunt prepping you for some of their heavier records like Clockwork Angels. The list goes on and on.
This is what we are, and this is our identity. I want more of the technicality. Boom, go to Hemispheres. You know what? I like more of the radio-friendly stuff. All right, go to Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows.
As a result, that makes this probably their most well-rounded album. And it's no surprise that this is the definitive record that we indoctrinate the non-Rushians. I was gonna go playlist on this one, but it is 3, but it is top 3, so I'm gonna go nut butt in there.
Me too.